So I pulled out the tablet recently after this expanded awareness, this expanded consciousness, this shift that's happened in my life that's brought back some vitality, led me to want to do things again, to create, to share, to teach, to learn. And in that process, I brought out my tablet I bought years back that just didn't get used much. It's been sitting, collecting dust in the same way that my old desktop has. So reminiscent of the parts of me collecting dust, the parts that I've buried, the parts I don't acknowledge and haven't for so long, because the only part of me I could see anymore was the fear and the insecurity. And being afraid all the time just doesn't leave very much mental space for things I used to enjoy. I don't have energy or motivation or Shakti energy that flows out because the dam that I put in place blocks the flow. The blockages, the samskaras, do not let the energy flow. And so I just stagnated and atrophied and withered and became very, very small and limited and afraid and judgmental and fearful and avoidant. So back to the tablet, I pull it out to try to use it. And I don't remember the exact details of how this happened, but it hadn't been used in a long time, and similar to my laptop in the same way, it needed updates, and it just was a little outdated from not being used. And somehow in that process of trying to get it functioning, or maybe initially, I'm not sure, the touchscreen wasn't working. I had a keyboard, fortunately, with a built-in mouse that came with it, but I was just very annoyed by the fact that the touchscreen on a tablet was not working, because obviously being a touchscreen is pretty important for a tablet. It's kind of its main, benefit over a laptop. And so me, being me and needing to fix everything constantly because I can't allow imperfection in my world because it triggers me, and the part of me that doesn't accept imperfection, doesn't accept flaws, that seeks to either hide them or fix them or ignore them or pretend they aren't real. I cannot abide imperfection. At least I couldn't. And so I sought to fix the problem. And this led to me hyper-focusing, being very single-minded in my pursuit of this goal. And I fixed it eventually. Actually, I don't know why I just said that, because I didn't. That's the whole point of this. I didn't fix it. But I continued. And I continued to keep just pouring lots of time into it. I couldn't understand what was going on, so I decided, well, let's just start from scratch, right? Let's flash a new firmware onto this tablet. Let's go back to the factory settings. Maybe there's settings in there that are just very interestingly connected in my mind, just in this moment as I'm talking, to the just convoluted network of settings in my own mind that have developed over the years, and the conflicts that can arise in those settings, the contradictions in my core beliefs that I've developed. And I liken those now in this moment to things that were going on in my tablet, some sort of conflicts in coding and software and updates, conflicting drivers, just the internal works of an organism, if you will, not functioning together to achieve their desired end. And consequently, I couldn't use a very vital function in my tablet. So I persisted. I flashed the new firmware. And then, for whatever reason, I can't remember all the details at this moment, but I couldn't leave well enough alone. I'm not sure exactly, but I think what happened was I flashed the firmware, and then funny enough, because of the way it worked, I had to sit and wait for it to flash a whole second time because I didn't pull the external hard drive out at the right moment, and it just started the process automatically again. So after doing that, I booted it, and after some updates, I believe the touchscreen finally worked. I don't remember how many updates it took, but I think the touchscreen started working. And because I don't think it worked initially again after the firmware update, after the firmware flash. And so I think I finally got it working, potentially, unless I'm mistaken in my memory. But I ended up updating it all the way to Windows 11, I believe, instead of Windows 10, where it started. And I did not like Windows 11, I think, maybe what happened. So I decided I would flash the Windows 10 again and just not update to 11. Well, something happened, I think, in the midst of this flashing of the firmware, and it seemed to brick the hard drive in the tablet, such that the tablet did not recognize the hard drive any longer. And after spending hours trying to figure out some solution for this, I eventually did, and that was to order a new hard drive, which was not too expensive, very easy to change. Essentially just removing the back cover of the tablet, taking out one screw, pulling out the hard drive, and replacing it with a new one. The problem arose, of course, when I began trying to replace the back cover. And because, unbeknownst to me, a small little magnet that fit into a slot on the back cover that had to do probably with the magnetic keyboard that attaches to it had shifted out of its proper little pocket, its little place where it was supposed to go. And because I was not aware of this, everything went smoothly until I tried to snap that corner of the cover back on. And it just wouldn't go. And some part of me in that moment, some very wise part of me knew to stop, to calm down, to breathe, and to reassess the situation, and even prompted me, gently nudged me to remove the cover and figure out what was going on. Now, did I do that? No, I did not. I wanted to. I thought about it. But it was one corner. Everything else was in place. That one corner just needed to go back in. So I forced it a little harder than I felt comfortable with. And the digitizer glass cracked. And I immediately regretted that decision, that action. And even in this moment, I feel some part of me, this very small part of me, feels angry with myself for not listening to the still small voice within me that knew the right thing to do. But because I was impatient, and because I was probably tired, and because I was just so focused on fixing the problem, I didn't listen to that voice. I listened to the much louder voice. And that was unwise. And this led to the tablet touchscreen definitely not working now. Because the digitizer that actually allowed it to work was now broken. The LCD underneath seemed to be fine, but I couldn't use the touchscreen. I could use the tablet just fine, but it's not a tablet then. It's just a laptop that breaks into two pieces and has a keyboard and a laptop. I mean, a keyboard and a screen, but the screen can't be used without the keyboard, so it was just not satisfying. I could not let it go. I could not accept that. And so I researched and researched, and I found a Chinese website where I could order the touchscreen, just the digitizer. Now, of course, they also sold the LCD digitizer together as a unit, which in hindsight is what I should have gotten. Because in order to separate the LCD and the digitizer, it's not a process that is something I should have attempted. Because what I essentially feared is what ended up happening finally when I tried it last night. Is after I got the digitizer in and realized that it didn't have the double-sided tape that it needed for me to do it, then I had to order that and tools that came along with it to try to do what I wanted to do. Well, after I got all of the things I needed and then finally had a moment to deal with it, I attempted it. And I think I really just didn't. I don't know if it's something I could have done if I had been more careful, had been more aware, had more knowledge than I did. But how could I do that? Because these mistakes are how we learn. It sucks, but it's just true. I can't know what I don't know until I know it, and the only way I can know it is by learning it. And often that comes through making mistakes because of imperfect knowledge that I act on. And so, in my attempt to try to separate the digitizer, I did exactly what I feared would happen, and I broke the LCD underneath because I think I did not go far enough in when I was trying to separate the glue that held the two together. Lots of deep resonation there I could go distracted into, but I'm not going to. Not in this moment. Maybe when I come back to this. But I continued on in this fixation on fixing this tablet. And I failed. At least for now. I don't know if I'm going to try to pursue it any longer. Because I actually have Sierra's tablet that's the exact same one. And with a little bit of work, because hers needs a battery, because her battery got swollen and will only work while it's plugged in now. But now I, seem to have an extra battery if I don't want to try to fix this one. And a new hard drive that's twice the size as the one in hers. So now I could put that one in hers, both the battery and the hard drive, and then I can share that one with her. We'll have twice as much space in it, so there's no reason why we can't share it. And I can move on, hopefully. Maybe one day I'll try to fix the other one. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just let it go. It's hard for me to let things go, but I need to practice it. And so I say all of that to say that I'm proud of myself because I notice progress and I want to record it for future me so that I can look back on this moment and hopefully be so much further along than I am now in this practice and in this process. But I'm so proud of myself because not too long ago, I would have handled this failure much differently, and I would have seen it as a reflection of me being a failure. But I am not a failure. I am incredibly intelligent and can be incredibly resilient and can fix many, many things. But I didn't fix this one. Not yet, anyway. And my attempts have met with lots of frustration. And that's okay. Because I know it's making me stronger now that I'm finally willing to hear what it's trying to tell me. That I am obsessed with being perfect. And I cannot accept imperfection in myself. At least I couldn't previously. But now I realize that it's the only thing to do. That anything else is insanity. That it is essentially being angry at Saturn for having rings, or gravity for existing. And so, no matter what happens with this tablet, I am okay. Because I finally know who I am. And I am not my mind. I am not the thoughts that tell me I have to be perfect in order to have worth. I have worth because of who I am, because I am the divine energy manifested in this form. And I have a mission and a purpose in this life that is so much bigger than the small, petty, trivial concerns that I've been obsessed with for so long. And I'm ready to finally start living that truth. And it's already begun, and I'm so excited for where it's going.